Merry Christmas!
Hello, everybody. Hope you're well.
Hello.
Sorry.
Wow, there's fluff in the air, like snow, like
It's
rainbow
like
snow.
Hello, everyone out there. Are you okay? Thank
you
you for joining
doing?
us.
For this Christmas cocktail party. We've posted a couple of recipes to our Ampled page, and I've made both of them. They're hot cocktails, but Chris is bucking the trend with a very summery cocktail, a favourite of ours, discovered in Berlin, but originating in Dusseldorf. It's the swimming pool. It's gorgeous.
Is that coming out?
It is beautiful. It's like the colour of deep ice.
Toothpaste.
I've got eggnog, which I love, but I've never actually made for myself before. Cheers!
This is going to be fun.
And cheers to you, everybody.
Happy Christmas. Oh my goodness, I really have gone. I've got to take that
Oh,
off.
that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet.
I
Anyway,
love it.
We hope you're all having a lovely evening, and thank you for joining us once again. If you have got drinks,
Yes, did
Cheers.
anybody make some? Thank you to Evan for the recipe. We didn't actually get to make it, but it was cider, Maker's Mark, cloves,
I've
cinnamon.
sorted it. I'm going to do that. I
Ooh.
just, I felt like, bucking the trend. I was
Yeah.
like, when I used to work as a waiter, middle of summer, I'd put Christmas songs on,
I like
and
it. Yeah.
middle of winter, I'd put,
Well, it's an Australian tradition to have Christmas in
yes.
July.
Oh God, it was destined. It was destined to
Yeah.
be. So yeah, I'm enjoying this greatly.
But we had the idea last episode that what could be a fun and exciting thing to do while we're a little bit tipsy? Ask us lots of questions. So we got a few questions to answer for you guys. One, which we missed off the chat last month, was where did we get our... what was the digital piano that we bought at Bonner's in Eastbourne? It is the Kawai ES112. And it's apparently been discontinued, I believe. So we got a bit of a deal on it.
Wow.
If you can find one, they're
Don't know
beautiful.
what's going on there.
Beautiful. In terms of sort of entry-level, fully weighted 88-key pianos, it's a really good one to go for. And we looked at, the Yamaha, the Roland equivalent, the Korg, and it just sounds and feels really beautiful to play. So.
And it's my birthday month. Ha! So the presents have started arriving, and Bridget here got me this. She got me the Oberheim Sem, and it's incredible. What more can I say? I also got the M-Tron Pro, which I've wanted for a long time. But the Sem, it's 50 quid. I mean, unfortunately, the sale isn't on anymore. But I'm blown away by the way it sounds, because we had a two voice in the house until recently. It's gone, and I'm forever looking for a filter that does that thing. And some, the fuse box has got a SEM-like filter. The OB6 has got a SEM-like filter. But there was always looking for that slightly. This almost sounds more authentic. So well done, Dave Spears and G4 Software. It's incredible. And if you fancy treating yourself, I mean, it's 50 quid now, which is a bit of a bargain. And you could stack 8 of them up and pretend you've got an 8 voice.
That's what I thought immediately. I was like, just open them all.
But I think that might be quite a bit of VST
Processing.
wrangling to do. No, well, I mean, it'll probably work, but imagine that. It'd be just like having the real thing. Or you could get the 8 voice from GeForce as well, which is, I believe, about 130 quid, 150. But I am not a VST user. I'm not a big fan of plugins and stuff like that. Well, plug-in instruments, because we've got a lot of real things. But this really is quite an eye-opener. It's things have got a lot better since I last used a VST.
Yeah.
So try it out. It's this thing.
It's gorgeous.
There you go.
Sounds great. Loads of fun. Brilliant.
It just sounds really bourgeois.
That's
got
special
beautiful
fizz.
onboard effects as well. Yeah.
The special fizz. I forgot to mention, when I said we have cocktail recipes on Ampled, for those that don't know, Ampled's basically like Patreon's run for musicians, by musicians. We have a page on there where we post all sorts of bonus content like stems, cocktail recipes, exclusive demos, and a new unreleased EP has just gone up. We give away download codes to things like Chris's album of Katzen. It hurts.
My previous project Katzen. I'm giving you that for free. It's it did it did all right at the time.
Great, I love it.
But it's yours. I just want to say thank you, really.
Yeah. And we asked all our Ampled followers, because we post stuff to them, and we did have all the BOOcast episodes, the previous episodes, just exclusive for our Ampled followers. And we asked them if they would mind us making them public, and they very generously all said, of course, go ahead, make them public. So we're releasing all the BOOcasts into the wild, so that people can watch past episodes now, and we're going to make some playlists of some of the segments as well. So if you just want to watch all the Bandmade segments about how we make things, you can watch all those. And likewise, the Synth of the Month ones are going up this month as well. So if you just want to watch all the synths, you can just watch all the synths.
Yeah, totally. So it's all there. Thank you very much for your feedback on that. We originally I wanted to keep it sort of secret, but now we've had literally 5 people tell us, look, you're really missing a trick here. Nobody's getting to see it. Come on. So we thought, yeah, okay. And as long as it was okay with you, Ampled guys, then we've done it. And it's done. It's done now.
So thanks for that. That's exciting. Should we go on to some more of the questions?
Well, there's news.
There's more news.
That's fine. No, we can leave that. That's fine.
Well, it's a tough question. This is a question from Jeff Potter via email. Thank you. So this question from Jeff Potter via email was, can you name your top 5 artists or bands? That's so hard, Jeff.
The answer's no.
We're music nerds. We like so much music.
Honestly, the first thing that popped into my head was, what was the first thing I remember hearing as a baby? And it was Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West. And then I couldn't get the tune out of my head for quite a while. So now I can't even think of anything.
I thought maybe I could think about things that we've been listening to in particular this year. We have listened to a lot of Talk this year, who we love. Chris was reading the book by the mastering engineer. I forget his name. Are We Still Rolling?
Phil
Brown. And we were just listening to it for reference while we were setting up the room. It's just a beautiful album, which we've always loved. What else did we listen to a lot this year? Killing Joke, because we saw them live. Love Killing Joke. I actually only discovered them a couple of years ago, but they're a fantastic band. Other recent stuff.
Are you going to name some bands? I'm
just saying bands that we've been listening to this year.
I would need at least five for each sort of 5 years of my life.
Yes, I was thinking time periods would be a good way to sort it.
First electronic music I was ever aware of was my mum had a compilation album of Bach, and the last track was Wendy Carlos, which was it? Brandenburg Concerto, whichever one it was. And I was amazed and blown away, and it just completely. It was amazing music because I had no idea what a synthesizer was or anything. It was just these amazing noises full of character, just dancing around the headphones. There's that, and then my mum bought Joy Division, and I loved the first Joy Division album. Like I said, we're going back to the age of 7, 8 here. And then I remember very clearly my mum and I were decorating, we're painting the upstairs bathroom, I think, and we had the John Peel show on, and Pocket Calculator by Kraftwerk came on. Now, I heard Autobahn sometime around, when it came out in the 74, 75, when I was a child, like proper baby. But I got very excited by Pocket Calculator. And the very next day, my mum and I went into the Virgin Megastore in Oxford Street. And my mum bought Computer World, which was out. And I bought Radioactivity, The Man Machine, and Trans Europe Express. And a red shirt and a black tie. And I went home, and I've never really been the same since aged 11.
Beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? What a little twerp.
I think my first CD was Abbey Road, and I was a massive Beatles nut when I was, a kid, and still am. I love them. It was great watching Let It Be, the film, the 5.5-hour film.
Yeah, it was good.
But it was very good. Yeah, I had a similar experience actually with electronic music at a young age. I remember Mum had a cassette of Tom Tom Club's album, and they used synths on a few songs on that album, and I remember just being utterly transported into this crazy visual wonderland of surreal landscapes and experiences that it just sent my imagination off in a way that, in a really visual way that sort of acoustic stuff maybe.
Those early experiences of music are really very important, aren't they? They never really leave you.
Yeah.
It's
and
amazing. It's quite a lot of people get that visual stuff from it when you're a kid.
Yeah.
I can't remember, someone was talking about electronic music and the lack of visuals. So when you think of a 5-piece rock band, you think drums, bass, guitar, saxophonist, singer, and you can picture what those things look like. You see them. I can't remember where I read this. And the person writing this thing about electronic music said, "What ultimately the only thing you can think about or picture in your head while listening to electronic music is a loudspeaker." But I disagree, because it's every color, every nuance, every texture, every little floating like character
completely
in your brain. But yeah, that's important stuff.
Yeah.
But then and then my dad introduced me to Captain Beefheart.
Oh, Captain Beefheart was,
So then there's a whole
well.
exactly, there's a whole other thing, and in the middle of all that, Gary Newman was huge, and we everyone at school just loved Gary Newman. And then we got David Bowie, permanently
Bowie.
Forever,
Big time Bowie,
and
Devo,
love
Devo,
of course, Devo, and going hand in hand with Devo, got the Units, and we got the Screamers, and
B-52s, sort of
the B-52s, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of these are the. You can hopefully maybe see that we are where we're coming from here. That's the kind of shtick we like.
But it's not to say that's all that we like. I mean, music from all over the world and weird genres from classical to... Oh, speaking of weird genres, should we mention what we went to Brighton to see this week?
Yes.
We went to Spirit of Gravity at Rossi Bar. It was fantastic.
It was great.
And
I mean, it was amazing. Every single act was just great.
Yeah,
there was some really beautiful poetry with a woman playing one of those electronic wee. What are they called?
I don't know.
Iwi. Is it an Iwi?
I don't know.
Am I mispronouncing shiwi?
No. It definitely wasn't a shiwi.
She wasn't blowing into a shiwi. It was one of those electronic clarinet saxophone things. And it was beautiful.
It was great.
The first guy was amazing. Chris D was playing, and it was
he said he accidentally wrote a gabba set.
300 BPM gabba set. And he was wearing this amazing sort of blank
white
Venusian mask with mad standing out sideways hair. And his mate had made this row of ultra bright RGB LEDs which were being triggered by MIDI, and so it was like he was just there with his hands on the thing with this like mad firework display blowing up in his face. It was brilliant. Never went below 300 BPM.
Yeah, it was hectic.
It was awesome.
I'd never really heard gabba before, but yeah, it was great. Awesome stuff. So yeah, I mean, our tastes span all sorts of things.
Things we liked recently. I mean, there's so much. And as you can see, that's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, we could be here all night doing that, really.
You know? Yeah.
Shall I move on to another question?
I hope that's answered it. I mean, you know, there's the usual suspects with electronic music, isn't it? There's Depeche Mode and all that. And then OMD. And then, of course, there's the Warp Records people. There's Autechre and there's Aphex Twin, Richard James. And there's Square Pusher and all that stuff from the 90s. Yeah. And everything on Guerrilla Records I used to love as well. It sort of used to be called Progressive House. How pretentious. How pretentious we were. But there's so much.
Pixies, love Pixies. Couldn't not mention Pixies. Exactly. Susie and the Banshees.
Susie and the Banshees. It never stops.
Cure, Pulp, Radiohead. I mean, through all the decades.
It literally depends on what mood we're in, or either of us is in at one particular time. If you ask them, what's your favourite 5 bands, we're going to,
And we've got
Have a
a bit of a
different answer.
playlist because we have our YouTube Nights In where we just watch brilliant live music on our projector screen, and there's a totally different thing with that, like actually going to watch performers performing at their best. And there's a few hits in there.
Black Sabbath.
Gene Vincent, yeah. Oh, that Paris gig's phenomenal.
James Brown.
Yeah, James Brown.
Prince.
Oh,
I
there's
mean,
so much.
It's just how do you make 5?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
5.
I don't mean to sound annoyed.
It's quite a challenge.
I'm not taking 5 and leaving the rest. I can't do that.
Okay, I'm going to squeeze in another question because we could just keep
Stop
talking
shouting.
about music.
Yes.
So Steve via Ampled said, I would like to have your comments on the Yamaha Reface DX. During your live performance on Sonic State, I found it amusing that Nick commented on your Reface DX and I said, I see you have the DX and those were not too popular. You said you loved it, and so do I. I have them all except the organ.
Oh, lucky you.
You realise now that nobody can keep the Reface series in stock. I
Really?
did not know that.
Why is that? Are they selling out?
Has somebody kind of given the tip off on how brilliant they are?
Are they?
We like it.
Yeah, are they cheaper now? Yeah, it's great. I love it. I say I love it, and I've used it a lot, and I love the way it sounds. The Op 6 has kind of taken its place.
Mm.
In fact, the Op 6 now for live is going to be taking the place of the MicroKorg, which turned 20 this year.
That leads into Gary Aylward's question.
Wait, I'm not finished.
Oh, you're not finished? Okay.
I was about to sell the Reface DX. Can you believe it?
Oh, yeah.
Is it Scuzzer?
No.
Who's asking
Steve.
this? Steve. Sorry, Steve. So, yeah, I was going to sell it, but I plugged it in one last time and had a listen and just went, I can't sell you, because it really does have a beautiful sound. It's annoying that it doesn't load original DX patches. The Op 6 does. It's annoying that it's nearly simplified FM, but once you've had fingers on an Op 6, it's like, no, that's a lot closer to simplified FM. Still not simple, and there's also a lot more to it. But yeah, it's beautiful. I really fancy getting the CS series, the piano Reface, because that sounds lovely as well.
I really like the key feel on them as well.
They feel pretty good.
Yeah, for mini keys.
It's just international sign language for key feel.
Key feel.
Key feel.
Good key feel.
Yeah. So yes, it's lovely, isn't it? And well done for having them all.
Yeah.
Why didn't you get the organ? Come on now. Got to catch them all.
Well, if you've got one really good organ, I suppose you don't need another.
Sorry, everyone. It's Christmas. We're likely to say things like
eggnog.
that.
Sorry.
Eggnog.
Oh, we're gonna have to. The vanilla beans are actually making me cough a bit, so I'll have to switch to the rum punch.
I did used to drink snowballs as a child in Glasgow. Christmas snowball. It's basically avocat, which is eggnog, and lemonade, fizzy lemonade out of a ginger bottle. You pour it out, and it all froths up.
Wow.
You get this massive foamy thing. Sorry.
Okay, so the question from Gary Aylward via Ampled was, what is your live setup and how do you make it work together?
Oh, now, Gary.
Do we have an answer for you? Or does Chris? You do.
I don't know, do we?
You have a really good answer for Gary.
Do I? Okay, so you're not the only person that's asked this, Gary, and I've sort of sidestepped it because it's not a simple question to answer. It's sort of, as you'll see, I feel like I need to go into a world of sort of making excuses for what we do a little bit. Let me just sort this out.
He's prepared a small featurette for you that goes into all the details. So we're going to show you that.
So yeah, how do we play live? This is how we live play.
When you go to see live music, what do you expect to see? Well, it obviously depends on what type of music it is. A piano recital will be very different to an electronic performer, which will be very different to a guitar-y rock band. But is backing acceptable in a live situation? Well, there have been many instances in the past where artists have been called out for using backing live, and especially for miming vocals. You wouldn't expect a piano recital to involve a person sat at a piano, moving their hands about as if they were playing while a CD played, unless, of course, it was an artsy statement about reality, perception, performance, etc. Is electronic music different in this respect? Electronic music has a long history of playing with pre-composed and pre-recorded sound. From the earliest recordings, to steam organs, to the theatre of the Bauhaus, to musique concrète, to Milton Babbitt and the radiophonic workshop, to scratching, turntablism, acid house, techno, rap, drum machines, sequencers, controllers, we can safely say that the idea of having a pre-arranged composition obediently play at the push of a button is very well established in the realm of electronic music. Indeed, in certain areas of electronic music, such as systems music and modular, it's part of the raison d'etre of that music, to dispense with the traditional performance altogether and allow the machines to come to the fore. Are sequencers and drum machines more valid then than pre-recorded backing? I think it depends. The flexibility of interweaving sequences in a live performance and the use of controllers and hardware to shape the music in real time can be an important part of the experience of live electronic music. But that can often lead to performers being hunched over their kit, bashing away at a bank of buttons, or worse still a laptop, largely ignoring the audience because, frankly, their workload is too great. And whenever this question arises in my mind, I remember what Gary Newman once said in an interview.
A lot of the stuff in telecom would be like CR78 and
Yeah.
and like that really old drum machine stuff. Well, you're talking, 25, 30-year-old technology.
Yeah.
It's not just going to go boom, chick, boom, chick. What's
Yeah.
the point?
Yeah.
What's the point in trying to worry about
Yeah.
or worrying about whether it's going to work each
Yeah.
night? Much better to just stick it on that. You're not playing it.
Yeah.
What's the difference if you pressing the go button for a drum machine or
Yeah.
pressing the play button on a DAW?
So do Boo use backing then? Well, yes, but there's a continuum of backing, with hitting play on the CD player at one end, and believe me, I've witnessed that before now, and triggering literally everything in real time at the other. Because we want to play parts on instruments, we've evolved to be somewhere in the middle, with a bit of triggering, a bit of hit play and leave it, and a bit of live playing. We basically play what we can with our four hands. Because we play songs live rather than improvised pieces, we want to have the backing sort of run on rails, but with a little bit of flexibility with certain parts of the songs, such as intros, endings, and various triggered one-shot sounds. We use pre-recorded sections and stems of drums, for example, because we couldn't bring all the various drum machines and pads out with us, and many of our drum sounds are made on synths that were also used for other parts. It's also simpler, lighter, less expensive to achieve, and more reliable than a whole bunch of kit up there on the stage with us. Because nothing's being triggered by MIDI or from a master clock, it gives it a nice bit of roughness, a sort of human feel, because we're the ones triggering it, and we really enjoy the aliveness that this method brings to a performance. Let me give you an example of how this works. This is Under the River, and we never played this song before, so we're going to do it from scratch. Choice of kit. Well, this goes hand in hand with deciding on which songs we plan to play. And as the set list grows, so does the setup. But we usually start with one or two songs and build from there. As we get into practicing, it becomes obvious what's working and where everything needs to go. And from there, it's a case of practicing like crazy and building up muscle memory. We're building a new live rig at the moment. The old one was getting a bit tired. And we've started with new stands. These ones are from Gravity, with a rapid desk and a tier. We needed to drill holes in the desk so the tier would fit. So, Gravity, if you're watching, it would be nice if it was possible to use these together without the need for drilling steel. So far, we're using the Bass Station 2, the Op6, and the MicroKorg. Bridget will probably be wearing the CS01, and there's going to be another couple of synths on her side. As yet, we haven't decided what they'll be. We use this MIDI Man multi-mixer because it's small and it gives us extra inputs, which go into the Yamaha mixer, which sends a stereo mix to front of house. We use two Zoom MS70 CDR pedals, one on the send from the mixer and one to beef up the bass station. These pedals allow you to chain up to 6 effects, and they're amazing value and sound pretty good. Bridget has a chain of pedals on the CS01, and these will vary according to what we're playing, but she'll usually start with a delay into an overdrive. On vocals, Bridget uses the Voice Live Play, with wet and dry signals on separate outputs, so the front of house sound person can balance those to the room. And finally, we use two Akai MPX8s for stems and triggering of samples. They're cheap, light, and mostly reliable so far. Creating the stems. So, here is Under the River. Now, it was created on Making Waves, but that computer is now dying, so I've exported the stems to Reaper. First, I'll remove anything we'll be performing. The bass part, the melody, and the arpeggio for the chorus are what I initially planned to play. Obviously, the vocals need to be removed, but there's a harmony at one point with some effects that we can't replicate, so I'll leave that little bit in for now. Now I want to see if there's anything I can remove that isn't really needed. It's always a good idea to make space for anything that might end up being improvised and added in rehearsal. Now I do a little EQ, compression, and limiting. I want this to sound as good and chunky as I can before I render it out. Next we need to recreate the sounds for the parts we removed on the instruments. So now the bass station's going to be the Minimoog, the Op6 is going to be the Dominion, and the MicroKorg will be the SH1, Moog, and ProMars arpeggio. Now we need to create the samples for the Akai MPX8. Now, the MPX8 will only allow us to have a maximum of 30 meg of samples across its 8 pads, so we have to be a bit creative on how we make these samples if we want them to fit. It's trial and error, but we usually get there in the end. Now, in the past, I've been known to chop songs into sections and loop them, and I've even made loops of individual track sections to trigger by hand, so I can jump from one part of the song to the next by bashing the pads. But this meant I was more focused on the Akai pads than on the synths and the crowd, so I've gradually adopted a different approach over the years. I've had to think about how I want to do this, and firstly, I want a stereo one-shot sample for the beginning of the song. To do this, I create a region for the sound in Reaper, and then I render it as a 16-bit 32K stereo WAV. The maximum the Akai can handle is 44.1K at 16-bit, but as I want to make several stereo one-shots for this song, I'm being cautious with the sample rate because I don't want to make the project too big to load into the MPX8. This sound was made on the Fusebox and the ProMars, and I want to have it in stereo. So, once again, I do a stereo 32K sample for the shorter one, and another for the longer one. Now I want to grab a short section from the start of the song to loop as an intro. This will allow some flexibility for how and when the main song starts. And once again, it's a stereo 32K WAV. And finally, I select a region from when the drums start to the end of the song, but this time I render it at 44.1 in mono. This improves the quality of the sample, and as it's mostly drums and the backbone of the song, it usually sounds more powerful in mono anyway. Mono rules. And how do we get all that into the Akai? Well, I put all the WAV files into the root of an SD card and insert it into the MPX8. I then load the samples in, largest first, and then place them on the pads that make sense to me. The Akai can play samples as a one-shot, a hold, which only plays for as long as your finger is on the pad, and a loop. I select which is needed. Once it's all inside the sample player, all we need to do now is practice. If during practice we decide we want to add anything or take anything away, we can just change it all and start again. And that's basically how we usually play music live.
So there you go. I hope that was useful or interesting, or just basically let the cat out of the bag.
I think it's really interesting seeing how different bands do it live,
Yeah.
especially electronic artists. So I'll link to the Gary Newman Telecon Tour rundown there that Chris referenced in the video. But we also saw a really good one recently with Orbital from DJ Mag on how people play live. And I also wanted to link this brilliant band that play Talk Talk live. And they play songs that were completely composed in the studio, painstakingly, note by note, through improvisation, and well, it's a mental journey. It was never performed live. It was never performed as a band. So it's quite amazing that this band have got together and they do a really good job of it. So I'll bung those links in the chat.
Yeah, they're really good. And also, we really annoyingly, there was a train strike and we couldn't make it to the Sonic State EMOM in Bath, which was really upsetting for us. However, we watched the whole thing live and live streamed it, as maybe some of you might have done. And every single act was absolutely brilliant. I want to make this absolutely clear, because I have anything I said in that piece of video now was not referring to anybody. It was actually referring to myself. I don't feel comfortable doing that because I never feel like it's enough. But my God, these people made it enough. It was really enough. It was so good.
It was
so good.
Brilliant. I just, listening to the sounds develop as people were making them live, it was really, really enjoyable. So looking forward to the next one. Hopefully it won't be thwarted by train strikes. Yeah, really good. Thanks for your questions. We've got chat questions. So, and a few people are mentioning their drinks. A couple of people aren't drinking during the week. Good for you guys. I think that's a very sensible thing.
Oh, very sensible.
Yes, I love it. Jarvis
try
is
that
drinking.
sometime.
We've got mulled wine. Wagu's drinking Talisker with a block of ice and a dash of Grand Gruyere. Is that cheese? Well, apparently it's a liqueur of some kind.
It's the cheese in the drink.
It's a special Swiss thing.
The cheese is in there.
Yeah, but apparently it's amazing. Somebody in the chat was like, "Yes, this is incredible." And H.R. Geiger used to drink this Grand Gruyere stuff in a coffee thing.
Awesome.
So yeah, things we have to try when we go to Switzerland one day.
I'm going to put Gruyere in everything now.
Iwi, yes, it was an electronic wind instrument.
Yes.
Thanks, Scuzzer. Wagu also mentioned he just bought the Reface DX and he's going to buy the D-Tronics DT RDX for more knobbage. I haven't actually heard of that.
Sounds like it's some kind of controller. I might have to Google that.
Yeah.
So can you plug it into the Reface and use that?
Yeah.
Oh, is it the little thing that slots on the back, like that, and it's just a row of knobs that goes behind the Reface DX?
That sounds pretty cool.
It might be that. Sorry, Wagu. What's it called again? The
D-Tronics DT RDX.
Yeah. No,
check that out.
That's just letters.
Yeah.
If it's that, well, good luck with that, because that will certainly improve things. Again, the Reface DX is only a 4-operator FM synth, but it does have a choice between square and triangle. Square and sawtooth waves, as well as sine. You can merge between them, which gives a lot more variety and depth to the type of sound you can make.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it is. It's a.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Serious knobbage. There's loads.
Well, let us know how that works out, Wagu. Because if those, how many knobs?
Like 24 at least.
That's how many knobs you should have.
Yeah.
so, good. Let us know how it works out. That'd be great. It does sound brilliant.
We had a question from Marco De La Vuta in the chat. When did you start?
What?
Is that us? I'm not sure if it was directed to us or someone else. But yeah, we started as a band in 2010.
I started making music when I was about 9.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
First band. Hey, Chris, I don't know if you're here. Chris Fulcus spoke to my oldest friend on planet Earth. We used to be in a band together, and actually, I still have the recordings of the very first things I made in
They're great.
1981.
Well, that's something for Ampled.
I'll have to clear it with Chris first. But I've never not made music, be it with electronic instruments or with my body.
And likewise, I'd always sort of made music on my own as a hobby and tried to painstakingly teach myself how to read sheet music by borrowing it from the big library in Sydney. But it was always just a hobby for me until I met Chris, and then he was like, "Hey, you can do this. Let's do this."
Do you know, there was something I wanted to say about this, which I don't want to make a bit of a downer happen, because there's lots of YouTube channels talking about music, and they're all over the place, and they're always talking about how great it is to make a beat and do their thing, and and it makes it seem like everyone's having a great time. Now, this is in reference to the thing I've just said, which is basically we've always made music because it's just something that we kind of have to do, and if no one was listening to it, I'd still be making music, and I'm sure you would be as well. We're just very lucky that, after 10 years, we've got an audience. So some people listen to our stuff and some people enjoy it, which is very, very nice. It can feel quite disheartening sometimes, I know, for people who feel like not enough people are hearing what you're doing. And we're living in a world where there's how many hundreds of thousands of tracks are uploaded to Spotify every day.
Competing for people's attention every day, apart from music. Music isn't the central activity of life that it once was, I don't think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. And there's I can't remember the guy's channel. A guy that does a really good music channel. I've forgotten who he is at the moment. I will go and find out in a second when I get a minute. He just did a post about, the thing that music YouTube channels never say. And it's, the self-doubt, the introspection, the desire to give it all up, and certainly with everyone must have this. And we certainly do. We would say like once every couple of months, it feels like, I don't know if we can do this anymore.
Because it takes a lot. It seems like it's all just, having fun and having a blast. But I know a lot of you are creators as well. And it takes a lot to make stuff that you're proud of and that you care about.
So I really wanted to share that thought with you, because I know, we certainly feel that way. I'm sure a lot of you feel that way. Just to let you know, it's completely natural. But if you have to do something, you will do it. And it's not always going to be, it's not always going to feel great.
And I think it really helps having people who understand that experience of what it's like to make something, what it is that you give of yourself and how hard it is and the rewards of it as well. But to be when you go through those hard times, like when you maybe get turned down for a gig or you don't get your song shared by the blog that you wanted it to be shared by, talk to those people, because they're going through the same thing, and you'll just know that you're not alone and you'll bounce back. And it's sometimes just really hard.
Do you know where you post something and literally no one hears
crickets.
And we did put up our PR advice. I mean, that's just advice. It's just like, the things that we do, and you do, because I can't even do it because it's so demoralizing. Anyway, I don't know what got me onto this. It was when did you start?
Yeah.
So we started. We're 10 years old this year.
It's good, actually. Somebody else asked to talk about how we deal with rejection and things like that. So that kind of covers that. That's good.
Yeah.
It's
not
hard.
a happy topic, but it's something I think if people were a little bit more honest about it, it might be nice, because there's a lot of all social media
shows the rosy picture.
Gives the impression that everyone's having a great time and everyone's drinking cocktails. We happen to be, but we did warn you about that.
And we are kind of having a great time as well. But sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes it's hard. I mean, yeah. But we won't go on about it because nobody wants to hear about that.
So we got a question by Instagram.
Laughing like a crazy person.
From
Instagram.
The Jessamine, lovely synth pop duo. Would love to know more about your mixing and mastering process, software, hardware, and plugins, etc.
Okay. Just changed over to a new DAW, so we are now using Reaper. Bridget, as part of my birthday present, got me the Isotope Nectar 3, which is great because it's just a vocal chain with lots of nice things in there, and I'm sort of used to it. But at the moment, I'm using that's an interesting question. I wish I'd prepared for it.
Yeah, it's quite. Maybe that's another one we could actually do a little feature on, because it is. Yeah. There's more to it than a pat answer.
I mean, I'll tell you what. During the next pre-recorded section, I'll do some work.
You're gonna edit a new video.
It's been a rough week. Come on. But there are some really great. I'll tell you what I will do. I will post this somewhere on the Ampled page, or I might post it in the comments when I get it, because I've got to switch this computer off to turn on Reaper to look at what they're called. But there's Thomas Munt. Yes.
Thomas Munt.
Okay, there's a free limiter called Thomas Munt's Loud Max, I think.
Oh, yeah, the Loud Max.
It's great. I can't remember where I got that tip off from. So we use that limiter. We use a lot of free EQs. Again, the Melder Systems
The Melda boutique of plugins.
The Melda Boutique suite of plugins is amazing. It's free as well. There's a really nice EQ with saturation and stuff in there, and lots of quite esoteric mangling, wave shaping, and all kinds of other stuff in there, which is lovely. I use that EQ a lot. As far as outboard effects, I mean, we've just got a load of guitar pedals. I do have a hold on. So we use these occasionally in recording. So that's the MS70 CDR, which is a very, very inexpensive multi-effects pedal, which is great also. We had a WEM copycat which died, and this has kind of taken its place. It 95% gets there. It's really, really lovely. There you go. Can you see it?
Strymon Volante.
Strymon Volante.
It's great.
So this outboard. So what I tend to do is record effects direct into the take. I normally don't sort of have them happening afterwards. So everything's a bit. You made your choice. Now you're sticking with it. What else? Mastering. So mastering again, it's just getting some limiting and EQ and trying to listen on as many different systems as possible. Because although we've got they're not bad. We've got the Yamaha HS7s, are they?
Yeah.
They're quite nice. And also we've got a loan of some small General X over there. I've forgotten which ones they are. But switch between those and go to USB speakers, listening and lots of as much different stuff as possible to try and get, because I still, even after the money we spent treating this room, I still don't trust it. Don't trust it.
As long as, even if it was a totally treated professional high standard studio, even then it would take you time to get used to it.
The whole thing, take it out in the car,
Yeah.
That's the classic. So
so it's a long process because there's a lot of repeat listening involved and note taking.
Yeah. And the way we write is sometimes it's very straightforward and it just happens, but other times it's a process of building up and then Brie will sing something and then wiping it away and that kind of more sculpture than painting. We're kind of removing stuff quite a lot of the time. Anyway.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Do you?
What gear would you like for Christmas? I asked this question on the chat on the social stuff, which we've been dabbling in a bit because we have a release coming soon, which we'll tell you more about later. Mark Doty said he's after a Korg PS 3300.
Bloody hell!
I found one that recently sold for £65,000. And he said, I think he got a slightly earlier, different model of a similar thing in the 90s for a few grand.
I think Korg only made about 50 of those or something. That their price is
that explains that.
Understandable. It's basically
a museum piece,
polyphonic and modular.
Amazing.
Which is a bit nuts.
So that would be quite something to get under the tree. Jonas Trummer wants...
Wouldn't fit under the tree.
A Kemper Profiler Powerhead. Cool amp. Mark Retro just said cables, synth tees. Cables are always good. If you have any synthy persons in your life, get them cables.
I'm waiting for my cables.
From AliExpress.
From AliExpress, which I've never used before, and I'm instantly... don't like this experience.
It's a long process.
It's been about 3 weeks. I'm waiting for the TRS to whatever cables on the DF Audio Mini Bay.
So that's what you'd like under your tree.
So yeah.
Oh, go on. Is there any other synths? What would we like for gear? My mind's gone blank now. I'm sure there were things.
I don't actually think I really...
We've got enough to get to grips with in here, don't we, with the new door?
It's a funny thing about getting new equipment. It kind of always sets me back a little while, because there's a feeling of, I've got to get to know this. I've got to work out how to do things with it. And then there's a feeling of guilt when you start doing other things and then you're neglecting it and you feel guilty. And then it actually gets... It's quite difficult to receive to have new things.
It is. There's a responsibility to the thing.
It kind of gets in the way of making stuff because you end up being in the realms of learning about how something works.
I remember it was the West Pest or the East Beast.
Oh yeah, I do want those.
The West Pest.
I want both.
And the JU06.
Maybe
possibly.
Because just for the because they're missing my Juno, but no, I don't really want that. No, I've changed my mind. They're too small.
We're all good.
They're too small. Mind you, the West Pest and the East Beast are quite small also. However, yeah, the West Pest sounds amazing.
Yeah, they sound cool.
And it's incredibly inexpensive for what's in there. It's got those Pittsburgh modular oscillators and stuff in it. Oof. Oosh.
I remember
Boy.
the Animal Factory amplification
Ah.
pedal. What's it called? The distortion
God
one?
Eater.
God Eater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like one of those.
They're sold out everywhere,
They're
unfortunately.
sold out everywhere. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
bit of a shame.
speaking of gear, though,
Oh, what's happening?
it's time for...
Oh, crikey.
Well, I won't sing the jingle. I won't
Yeah.
spoil the surprise.
Wait a second. Okay, so, yeah. Here we go. So, thank you for joining us. Here we are, Synth of the Month. See you in a bit.
The BOOcast Synth of the Month is... Hold on. How well do you remember 2002? Do you remember the phone you had? Here's mine. Here's the computer I had access to. This was my door, but do you own anything digital from 2002 that you still use, that still even works? The BOOcast Synth of the Month is the 2002 Korg MicroKorg. 20 years ago, Korg took the sound engine from their MS-2000, released in 2000, and popped it into a tiny box with wooden end cheeks and 7 Moogie knobs, and a legend was born. Sitting in the window of Turnkey on Charing Cross Road, it looked, to me anyway, like the cutest thing I'd ever seen since a Casio VL1, and I grabbed one. And I used it live all over the place. And I wasn't alone. Throughout the mid-noughties, it was turning up on stages everywhere. Whenever some band or other wanted a bit of synth in their sound, there it was. And it went on to be one of the most successful synthesizers ever made, giving thousands of people their first taste of analog-style sound creation. Tiny, battery-powered, and easy to use, you can see why. And we still use ours all the time.
And here is our rather beat up old MicroKorg, and it's had its end cheeks taken off, and it's as ever covered in stickers. This has been with us for years, and in fact it was with me since about 2005, and it still works. So just to see what's going on inside here, let's quickly initialize it, and we do that by pressing Shift and 3, and press 3 again to initialize it, and it gives us a sawtooth. So the MicroKorg is 4-note polyphonic, and it's programmed using this matrix of parameters here, which looks a bit ugh. However, it's not quite as difficult and horrible as it might at first appear, and the way we start up a sound is we use these 2 knobs to access these various parameters here, and these 5 knobs along the top allow us to adjust the settings of each of these parameters. And so we start with a voice, so it takes us to here, voice. We can choose between a synth and a vocoder, because this thing is a vocoder as well. Not a very good vocoder though, you can't understand anything through it, but sometimes it's useful for non-vocal vocoderizing. Then we can choose whether it's going to be a single or a layered preset. What the MicroKorg allows us to do is to create a synth sound and then create another synth sound and have them piled on top of each other. This doesn't mean it's multi-timbral, but it does mean that you can get quite complicated little sounds in there, although that reduces the polyphony to 2. So let's go for single at the moment. Voice assigned, so we can choose polyphonic, unison, or mono. So let's go for a poly sound. Pitch, we can transpose it. And there's a fine tune control. Whoop. Ha! The knob just came off. Portamento, which is polyphonic. Now the thing about the portamento is it's got a fixed speed, so it takes the same amount of time to go from the top of the keyboard to the bottom as it does from just a semitone. It's so yeah, it's a little bit tricky to make certain preset sounds with portamento on it. And the vibrato intensity. Now, oscillator 1. So the first controller is telling us which wave we want to use. So the first wave we can have is a sawtooth. Now, it's not exactly the most corpulent sawtooth, but hey, there it is. We get to mangle the shape of the sawtooth. Looks like you can do pulse width on the sawtooth as well. Anyway, so let's go to square. The pulse width modulation is linked to LFO1. Let's go back to 3.0. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to go back and forward between parameters. Although you can really only edit one parameter at a time, clicking back and forward isn't so much of a hardship. It's kind of all right, you get used to it. So then we've got a triangle, which again has some wave folding. I should really get the manual out and remind myself what it's actually doing. So that's the triangle. The next waveform is the sine, which that's definitely wave folding. Oh, incredibly noisy. Oh, what is that? Is that... Sounds like FM. Sounds like FM, doesn't it? So yeah, the quality's not exactly brilliant, but there's a lot of flexibility here. Let's go back to... Now with Dig, we've got a selection of waveforms which have been lifted from the Korg DW8000 from 1985. These are a bit like wavetables, but you can't morph between them. They are single cycle samples of various sounds, and we can... So they are all listed on the manual somewhere. I have no idea where the manual is. So quite usefully, some of these waveforms already, as you can hear, have... Well, that one's got a fifth in it. Various belly. Kind of organy. I'm just going to go to the amp envelope now to give us a sort of bell. That's better. So even without any filtering, without anything going on here, this is just the waveform going through a very simple envelope. Hey, it's Christmas. Let's keep going. Slightly more, well, almost bell. Again, another some voice formants. And that's it for oscillator 1. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot going on there. And I really like the digital waveforms. I use them a lot. In fact, let's get an A Delia. A22. This is a sound I've been using for ages. I made it years ago. Every so often I like to pull it out. Whoa, bit of... And that's the inbuilt delay, which is set to stereo, left and right ping pong. You can muck with it while you're playing. That sounds like a band pass filter.
So that's oscillator 1. Unfortunately, we can't automate this. So on to oscillator 2. Now to hear oscillator 2, we have to go first to the mixer. Oscillator 1 level, oscillator 2 level. Oscillator 2 is off. Let's turn it on, and oscillator 1 will turn it right down. So oscillator 2 is slightly simpler. We've only got saw, square, but we do have oscillator mod. So we've got ring with an amount, and sync, and a pitch, and a combination of ring and sync. Let's change that. That works on all of the waveforms, square and triangle. That's all we've got for there, but we do have the semitone control and the tune control. So we'll just go back into the mixer and bring up oscillator 1 so we can tune it. So we can do a little bit of detune there. Or we can sort of turn it into a sub. Fifths. But if we go back to oscillator 1 and choose one of those digital waveforms with a chord in it. So there we've got the fifths. Turn oscillator 2 back up. And back to oscillator 2 and tune it. So we've got a major chord there. Minor chord. Then we've already said we've got a mixer here, so there's oscillator 1 level, oscillator 2 level. Also in the mixer, we've got a noise level, so it's another filter. The first model is a 24 dB low-pass filter. I mean, you can hear that's an early digitally modelled filter, can't you? Let's bring up the resonance. It does lose the low as you boost the resonance. We've also got 12 dB low. Which might sound a bit better. Bandpass. High pass. So the filter gives us the type to cut off the resonance, filter EG amount, obviously, so that's how much the filter envelope's going. So we've got two envelopes here, the filter EG, attack, decay, sustain, release. So go back to the amount, we're up at full, 63. Let's bring down the resonance. The amp section, so we've got an overall level of the whole thing. Let's keep that full. Pan, so pan it to the left, pan it to the right. Why would you want to do that? Yeah, you'll see. We've got distortion. There's no level on this distortion, it's just off or on, and it's all dependent on the initial level. And then there's the amplifier, attack, decay, sustain, release. Then we've got two LFOs. So the LFO1 and LFO2 have exactly the same settings. I'll go to LFO2 because it's controlling the pitch via the mod wheel. Let's slow it down. And let's go back up the top here. You see, I'll go back and forward. Back to pitch, vibrato amount. Let's boost it. So there's the first one, which is saw. We can also, with pitch, we can go into negative.
square. Sine and sample and hold. So that's all from this one knob here, controlling these ones, and then we've got the other bit. On Edit Select 2, we've got these 4 patches, which are modulation matrix things, and you can select the source as filter envelope, the amplifier envelope, LFO1, LFO2, velocity from the keyboard, tracking, which is keyboard tracking, bend wheel, or the mod wheel. And we can send it to pitch, tuning of oscillator 2, cutoff, amp, pan, and LFO2. So I'll just take this. So we've got some delay on here, but I'll just take LFO1. We'll send it to pan, put it on maximum. So now the LFO is panning that sound around. There are 4 of those, and you can use them all simultaneously. So now we've got some effects. So we've got a flanger, speed, depth, ensemble. It's kind of a chorusing thing. So we have a phaser. And there's also delay, so we've got straight delay, delay feedback level, speed, and it does, it's quite flexible, it does that bending around thing. And there's a left to right ping pong delay. Also got the arpeggios here. And while we're playing, these knobs become sort of macros, and this one defaults to cut off. When you're just in play mode, this one's the resonance. This is attack time. And this is the release time. So although the synth editing is a bit of a faff, possibly, while you're playing you do have a little bit of more easy hands-on control of what are generally the most used parameters. So it's got a lot in it. It's not a bad little synth. Sound quality is okay, and you've got all of those parameters under your fingertips. And this synth is one of the best-selling synths ever made. Basically, when it came out in 2002, apparently Korg got a lot of reviews saying, nobody's going to buy that. And then, like, in the mid-2000s,
everybody had one. I mean, they were just everywhere. Every single band that wanted a bit of cheap synthesizer action in them would have one of these on stage. And even like bands that had like lots of expensive synthesizers would have one of these on stage. You just see them there all the time. So this synth engine has quite a lot of flexibility, complexity, all the different waveforms you can get in the digital waveforms. Plus, you can choose to have it as a layered sound. So you can have two synth engines, one on top of the other, such as for sounds like this. Which is... yeah, I'll name that tune. Basically the bass and the high bit from Wazawa. And it's really flexible, and just despite the menu diving and the parameters you have to go through, it's actually very easy to program. See, one of the first things I did was cover up these genre banks because I found them really off-putting. I very rarely use this in recordings, but there is one sound, this one, which is on our song The Sea. And with this sound, we've got one of the layers panned to the left and the other one panned to the right. Some of the original sounds that came with it are actually pretty good. But you're not going to use them, are you? So these are largely overwritten. There it is. Happy birthday, MicroKorg. 20 years. Excellent. Yeah, there you go. Korg.
Celebration for Korg this year, isn't it?
Yeah, well, God bless Korg. They're great. They gave me a spare knob for my Volca once.
Yeah.
And they asked no questions.
They're lovely folks.
They are. They really are.
Lots of love for the Korg, MicroKorg in the chat. Gordon Will said, "Oh, my baby, my mysterious weird menu knob machine." Exactly what it is. Peter said the Novation Mini Nova was
yeah,
my
we're
MicroKorg.
right, Peter. Yes. Yes, we know.
We love Novation too.
We love Novation too. Do you know, it's like, it's the other MicroKorg, isn't it? The Mini Nova.
Yeah.
Let me hear your response, Peter.
AD Vision, do you use the software editor?
No. However, no. I use the Librarian sometimes. I was recently trying to sort out the base station 2 and its Librarian. Yes, I do use that kind of thing. I don't normally use a software editor though. I wonder if it's I guess it's a lot simpler to have everything up there in front of you and to see what's happening. Is there a delay between shifting something on the editor and it coming out of the synth though? I mean, I don't know. I may have used one once. I'm going back. I mean, I've had it for so long.
Yeah, you just used the...
It has to kudos to the MicroKorg though for still existing. I mean, you saw the state it's in, and I really must give it a clean.
Well, Ian J. Cole said he's on his second, and I was like, wow, what happened to the first one? But
yeah,
he
what happened
said
to the first one?
The speakers used to duck in and out a bit. They were never very good. They switched off all the time.
Oh,
so
was that the MicroKorg, the the updated one with the speakers in? Because ours doesn't have speakers.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Yeah, actually, funnily enough, my Reface DX's speakers, one of the channels broke.
Yeah.
I put something through it that I shouldn't have. I mean, no, it wasn't external. It was the actual synth itself made a sound that messed its own speakers up.
Ian says that the software editor isn't from Korg.
Right.
I
mean, there are. I think there might be a couple of them, but yeah, I might check that out.
Got a few other Christmas wishes from folks. Cresshead wants the Behringer Lindrum. Didn't know they did
The
Berlin
what?
drum. Is that a thing? Missed that.
I
Gonna
have to Google that. Is
watch
that
some
real?
videos of that. And also the Roland Compact E4 for vocal tuning. I don't know that one either.
Yes, you do. Because we
yeah.
Simon Forsyth. Hello, Simon. I don't know if you're watching. Great show, by the way, at the Sonic State EMOM.
Yeah, thank
Fantastic.
you.
Yes, we have the bigger version of that, and it's like a sort of vocal processing thing. And
Yeah.
I've used it on a couple of remixes we've done.
It's
for
great fun.
Quick and dirty chopping up of vocals. It's great.
I like the repitching.
Repitching and formant shifting.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Like
We
you
actually
can
had
make
a
yourself sound like
I've
that.
got a very good friend brought his family round.
Yeah.
And one of his daughters, I think she was about 10 at the time, gave her a mic and she was shifting the formant right down, so she sounded like a sort of 85-year-old woman, was having an amazing free-form
like
improvisation. It was
really aggro gangster rap.
we were
It's
literally
brilliant.
just sat there going,
Where is this coming from?
looking at each other going, this is amazing and scary and
Loads of
brilliant.
fun. David Heel would love the Osmos Expressive E. Yes,
Ah.
please. That would be amazing. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if they're even out yet. Is it still pre-orders? I don't know.
Mm.
Andrew Brooks already bought the Bitbox Micro as a Christmas
Yeah,
present.
Bitbox are great.
Game
the
changer for the
Micros-
Eurorack setup.
Yeah,
says.
there's a total sampling thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And
I mean, we talked about how we make our music live, and it's literally the quickest and dirtiest thing that we can think of that we do. And but there's always a feeling that maybe we should change this up a little bit, but it's just that the time we have to prepare doesn't normally include the time to start using new stuff.
Yeah. It works for a reason. Like it's compact. We can travel with it. We deliver the songs in a good way.
But there are a lot of options out there.
Yeah,
it's
there's
just the
so
option
many
we've chosen is just, to me, is the cheapest, simplest, lightest, and most idiot-proof.
And
Hello.
and enjoyable to use as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
perform with. Wago explained what Grand Gruyere is. It's not cheese. It is an absinthe-like drink, but it's not aniseedy. That's good news for me because I don't like aniseed.
Yes,
things.
you do.
Mm.
You like star anise?
No, I
Don't
hate
you?
it. No, I don't mind it in a curry, but if I bite one, oh.
Delicious.
Oh, Warren said he absolutely feels that downswing after every release. Warren Harrison puts out music all the time. You're prolific, man. Know how it feels. But he says he finds focusing on the creative part rather than the success part helps a lot. And I think that's really important to say. Like, what is success to you? Is it, for me, it's like we get to do the thing. We're making the thing. And sometimes we create a thing. It's not the finished product. It's not thousands of people going, wow, this is the best thing ever. It's the act of doing it more than the end result.
It's two completely sides of a brain. There's the marketing and the making side are two. Literally, they may as well be different people, and they are different people, and with different desires and different, raison d'etre. But yeah, I think you're right. Concentrating on just focusing on the creation and actually concentrating on the creation without the idea of an outcome often will produce better results as well, where you explore and genuinely, rather than thinking, well, how's this going to come over and what am I aiming for at the end of this? But yeah, that downswing is it's horrible, isn't it?
It's a thing.
But to be honest, I'm just grateful to even just be doing anything, because I never ever in my life expected anyone to like what I did. And I basically been making music, as I said, since I was 11. I mean, non-stop. Been in a couple of bands, nothing came of it. Been doing stuff forever. Then MySpace came along, and then someone said, "Do you want a record deal?" I went, "Okay." And that's how the Katzen album, which is on Ampled now for you to download for free if you wish to explore that.
It's a fantastic album.
But yeah.
Yeah. I might move on to the last question from Jeff Potter via email. He said, "What are your highlights of the first 10 years of Boo?" This is kind of like choosing top 5 bands, Jeff, because there's so much. I've written down like a short list.
Got one.
Okay.
being offered a slice of pizza by Nick Batt.
Oh, that's great. That wasn't on my list.
It was nice.
Brilliant. Yeah, a lot of mine are to do with playing live. Playing our first gig in Germany at Hassan Schaukel in Hamburg.
Yeah.
Playing with Cavern of Antimatter in Ramsgate. That was such a...
That was an amazing
The
gig.
stars really aligned for that gig, and it was fizzing. You know, the whole audience was utterly transported that night. It was brilliant. Getting Snare on Bandcamp's Essential Releases list. That was just...
Yeah, that was
really
good.
exciting. Winning Best Music Video Award for Lady Megawatt at the Green Screen Film Festival.
Yeah, that was good.
Another unexpected benefit. Buying decent monitor speakers for the first time entirely with album sales. That was amazing. Like, to be able to have the money to invest in the band.
Yeah, that is an important moment.
Yeah.
When we realised, hey, we can afford some actual monitor
Some
speakers,
studio equipment.
and it's kind of being paid for rather than we're having to shell out. Yeah, that was good.
Releasing Yesterday, Tomorrow and You, our magnum opus during lockdown. It was just a really difficult couple of years for the whole planet, and I'm amazed at what we achieved with that album in that time. Going to Superbooth in 2019. Oh, so many fun memories. We're hoping to be able to go back this year. It was just such a beautiful experience. And all the special gigs and people we've met over the years, all of these connections, we feel so blessed and so lucky. And I'm just scratching the surface. I mean, every year, actually, around about this time of year, we go back through the diary and write down all the amazing things we've happened and had happened to us, and all the wonderful people we've met, and we feel very rich indeed. So.
Of course, we're not going to see you until the new year, so this is kind of a Hogmanay show as well.
Yeah.
I just remembered something that happened at Superbooth. Another happy memory, being so lost in conversation and having a great time with everyone at Sonic State and some other friends that were around. We were in this club in Berlin, and it took about an hour before somebody went, is that Tangerine Dream? And the band was playing stuff in the background. We missed it. I can't remember which lineup it was of Tangerine Dream, but they were we totally missed it because we were lost in each other's.
That was great fun.
Shocking behaviour, really. I mean, outrageous.
There's a second part to that question, which is, what are your ambitions for the next 10 years of Boo? I think we want to keep making work that we can be proud of, and for that work to connect with people in some way and make life a bit easier and
I didn't
more
mean to
enjoyable.
make such a disparaging sound, but the idea of the next 10 years fills me with...
Yeah, just take it one day at a time.
Yeah, that's good advice, yeah. I honestly, I mean... Yeah, I mean, I like Bridget said, it's all about the people you meet. It's the meeting of great people and having a lovely network of stuff that's being created, like a little sort of family around you of people that have a sort of a vibe, the same vibe.
You guys are a huge part. Thank you so much for being here and celebrating Christmas time and everything with us.
Yeah, totally.
We feel really, really lucky.
We do, and I as long as if we're still going in 10 years, if the world is still in one piece in 10 years, I hope we're still doing it. Yeah,
that's the goal.
Are we nearly there?
Yeah, that's everything, I think.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Cheers.
Hold on.
I'll wait. This is the rum punch. I moved on from the eggnog because the vanilla was catching in my throat. The recipe is on our Ample page.
I think I found it was the creaminess. So it's this is sort of Christmas and New Year. It's the Bunnahabhain non-age certified whiskey. Andy, if you've got one, I think you do, don't you? Come on. This is beautiful stuff. I should have captured that.
On the mic. It won't. Ow! Oh my goodness!
I was trying to break the gate. These microphones are so noisy. That's something I want for Christmas.
New mics.
Yeah, a couple of Neumann.
Oh, good call.
No, you 47. no, you whatevers.
Cheers to you guys.
We wish you a happy Christmas and a very, very peaceful and merry and happy New Year.
We're going to play you out with a song, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
A cover song for a bit of fun.
Yeah, we did this a little bit earlier. I hope you're all well.
Yeah. Be well. Have a wonderful new year. And may 2023 bring you great joy.
Yes, indeed. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, it's just, I haven't actually. Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's Christmas.
Now it's Christmas.
Here we go. Until the new year.
Till next time.
Have a beautiful time.
Bye, guys.
Take care, everyone.